For the most common problems that we see in basements, I would say that basically it's all of the damages that water infiltration and the humidity that comes with it causes to your house. Because a basement is a place where you live, and having mold in the basement that grows on organic material could go, all of this mold would go up in the air, and its spores would be transferred in the air up to the upper floors, and it could cause really many problems for the health of the occupants in the house. When we think about whether water infiltration problems are more common in new homes or older homes, for sure it's older homes that pose bigger threats of water infiltration. However, new constructions as well have, we have seen that new constructions have problems as well. It depends on how good the construction was, how well the construction was done. If no mistakes were done, like for example, if the tar that was done on the outside of the house was done in a good way, that it was done in a uniform way, that you don't have any places where some water infiltration might occur, and if the French drain that they usually install on the outside was installed well, and if it's really links to a drainage point, because if that wasn't done, you could have problems even in new constructions. But really, like, it's mostly older constructions, because with the time some materials are decaying that have or that pose the biggest problems of water infiltration and humidity. There are different ways to protect a basement. We should distinguish maybe here between water infiltration and humidity, and the fact that water infiltration does cause humidity. We always think about protecting from the outside before the water comes in with French drains, and having some kind of membrane or tar on the outside, some kind of envelope on the walls. But the fact is that French drains get blocked with time. They are exposed to nature outside, they are exposed to the soil, and soil, when it drains into those French drains, it brings, the water, when it drains into that, it brings with it all of that soil, and with the pressure that you have, it might eventually, give it a few years, block that French drain. When we speak about inspecting properties and whether we can do it just by naked eye, by having a look and knowing if there is a problem, this is in fact what we do. It comes with experience. We are trained to be able to find some signs, because when you have water infiltrations, there are always signs of that water that has come into your basement. For example, you have efflorescence, which are the minerals that stay after the water that has infiltrated your basement after it has dried up. It leaves behind it some traces, which is the white powder, the efflorescence. Another thing is mold that you can see in your basement, and we trace the places where the damages have been done. You could also use some equipment. We rarely do it, because if you misuse those equipment, sometimes you could get some false reading and some false indications about where you have the water infiltration from. But ideally, we could do it with our experience, just by looking at the problem. And another thing is that it's important to ask the owners or whomever lived there for a long time about the history of the house, because because they are the best people to tell you what kind of problems they had, and from that we could, through asking them, posing like a list of questions, it helps us determine what the problem is in the best way. Especially during the spring, when you have all of that snow, that you have the thawing season, during this period, the level of water, and adding to that, in fact, the rain, when it starts raining and you have still some snow or still some, the earth is still frozen on the outside and it's starting to thaw, this builds up the level of humidity and the level of water that you have in the soil that's outside of your basement to a very high level, and it puts a lot of pressure, what we call hydrostatic pressure, on your basement walls. And since hydrostatic pressure is the highest at the lowest point, so deep around your footing, the water starts infiltrating the basement from that side. So the biggest risk is really during the times when you have a lot of rain and during spring when you have thawing that's happening.